All right, today we're looking at a project that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. The idea of turning deserts into lush, productive farmland. Seriously. It's a project that takes on food, water, and energy shortages all at the same time. This could be a real blueprint for our future. So, let's get into it. So, it all really boils down to this one huge question. Is it really possible to grow food right in the middle of the desert? I don't mean just barely surviving, I mean actually thriving. And, well, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? On one side, you've got the harsh reality of the Jordanian desert, sun-scorched, barren land. And on the other, look at that, thriving green tomato plants. No, this isn't some kind of trick. This is the Sahara Forest Project in action. Now, to really get why a project like this is so, well, revolutionary, you first have to understand the sheer scale of the problems it's trying to solve. We're talking about a planet that is under some serious pressure. Okay, let's look at the numbers. By the middle of this century, we're going to have over 9 billion people on this planet. That puts a huge strain on our resources. And it's not just one single problem, it's this tangled web of challenges, you know? We need more food, more fresh water, more energy, and all of this is getting way more complicated because of climate change and the fact that our deserts are actually getting bigger. But here's the cool part. Instead of looking at all these crises as separate issues, the Sahara Forest Project comes in with this single, all-in-one vision, a way to not just, sustain ourselves, but to actually start restoring the planet. And this is that vision. The philosophy at its core is just so simple and elegant. It's about taking the things that we have in absolute abundance, things like that relentless desert sun, endless salt water, even CO2, and using all of it to create the very things we're running out of. They actually have a name for this whole approach, restorative growth. And this is the key point, right? This isn't just about doing less harm or being a little bit greener. It's about actively making things better. We're talking about revegetating barren land, creating new jobs, all while profitably producing food, fresh water, and clean energy. It's a win-win-win. Okay, so it's a beautiful idea, for sure. But how do you actually turn saltwater and sunlight into a field of vegetables? Let's break down the tech that makes this whole thing possible. It's basically a three-part system, and it all works together in perfect harmony. First up, you have solar power, which generates all the electricity the place needs. Second, that power runs these incredible saltwater-cooled greenhouses. And third, this is the magic part. The byproducts, like fresh water and humid air, are used to green up the desert outside the greenhouses. It's a completely self-contained, closed-loop masterpiece. So how in the world do you keep a greenhouse cool in the middle of the desert? Well, it's basically a giant natural air conditioner. Hot, dry desert air gets pulled through these special pads that are soaked in salt water, and as that water evaporates, it cools and humidifies the air inside, creating this perfect, lush climate for crops to just, well, thrive. And the results? They are just staggering. This system uses only 1/10 of the water that regular farming would need in the same area. Just think about that. In a world where water is becoming more and more scarce, that one fact right there is a total game changer. And this cooling effect is no joke. It can drop the temperature inside by as much as 15 degrees Celsius. What does that mean? It means you can forget about typical growing seasons. They can produce high-quality veggies all year round, even when it's absolutely scorching hot outside. And the engine driving this entire operation is, of course, the sun. These big photovoltaic panels just soak up all that abundant desert sunlight and turn it into clean electricity. That's what powers everything, the pumps, the fans, all of it. Absolutely no fossil fuels needed. And the benefits don't stop at the greenhouse walls. They literally spill outside. The extra water and humidity from the system are piped out to grow plants in the surrounding desert. They've already successfully cultivated over 50 different species out there, turning barren sand back into a living ecosystem. That is restorative growth in action. So look, this isn't just some cool concept on a drawing board. The Sahara Forest Project has been on this remarkable journey, turning a really bold idea into a real, working farm. The journey really kicked off back in 2012 with a pilot facility in Qatar. That's where they first proved, hey, this concept actually works. Building on that success, the bigger Jordan launch station opened up in 2017. And now, the vision is scaling up again, with plans for a full commercial-sized facility. But let's just rewind for a second. This is where it all began, with a vision.
an incredibly ambitious piece of art that dared to imagine something that seemed impossible, turning a barren desert into a productive oasis.
And here is that vision made real. This isn't an illustration anymore. It's a photograph of the Jordan launch station. This is the proof. What might have seemed like a total fantasy is now a fully operational, food-producing reality. And the numbers coming out of the Jordan facility are just incredible. Let this sink in. They can produce up to 130,000 kilograms of vegetables every year. They create up to 20,000 liters of fresh water every single day. And it's all powered by the sun, bringing 3 whole hectares of land back to life. But they're not stopping there, not by a long shot. The next step is to go even bigger. This is the plan for a 20-hectare facility. That's a huge step up, scaling up the model to make an even greater positive impact on the environment and, of course, the local economy. So, what does this all mean for the future? I mean, the Sahara Forest Project isn't just about growing a few cucumbers in the desert. It's about providing a tangible, working blueprint for a much more sustainable world. And here's the real reason this model can actually work and spread across the globe. It's built on something called the triple bottom line. So it's designed to be good for the environment, right? By restoring land. It's good for society by creating green jobs. And it's a profitable business. It's sustainability that can actually sustain itself financially. And leaders around the world are really starting to take notice. Olaf Kjørven from the UN Development Program called it a gold standard for our hot, crowded planet, especially with our urgent need to move to a low-carbon future. I mean, that is a massive endorsement. But in the end, it really all comes down to this powerful idea, and the journal Nature summarized it perfectly. When we're facing our most daunting climate challenges, science is showing us that the simplest, most abundant things around us, salt water and sunlight, can create a self-sustaining cycle of food, water, and life. It's not a mirage, it's the future.